Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I am Non, and you are watching another Friday Ace of Spades website review, one which you will probably find very interesting if you have any interest whatsoever in making your website interesting to your prospects, because the topic is how to keep your ideal prospect glued to your words, a real-life example. Yes, I managed to finally find one, plus tips for more glue stickiness. And I was able to find it because the person who nominated the site today, Patrick, thank you, is also a copywriter. So it is silvercopy.com. And let me make a quick comment here that you will get a lot more benefit from this review if you read the whole of silvercopy.com, or at least the services and perhaps the contact page. Because although I'll be referring to the homepage primarily, it sits in a larger context, a kind of flow of thought that takes you through the homepage, the services, and then to the contact. And you need to understand the context of the homepage in order to get the most out of what I'm going to say. So, as always, we'll be using Frodo to see how well the site does. First reaction, orientation, desirability, and offers. And obviously Odo is the important thing. And today we'll be looking at desirability in particular, because that's where copy comes in. And we won't be looking so much at attention, contrast plus eye path, but let's not forget that either. First reaction, how does the site make me feel? Now, I don't know about you, but the site makes me feel pretty good. I say that in kind of understated way because I can't think of any way that I would improve the first reaction of the site at all. It looks really good, and it evokes the kind of subtle but clear professionalism that you want a website to evoke. It says that this is a professional company that certainly knows how to present itself well. And that's really what you want your website to do in the first instance, because the more you can evoke that kind of subconscious feeling in your prospect, the more likely he is to feel comfortable with whatever else you have to say. So, good. Orientation. Am I in the right place? Okay. Here the site feels a little bit, well, it falls down a little bit because Silvered Copy, the title is very obvious, but it doesn't tell me what Patrick necessarily does. Now, if you're someone like me, you'll probably assume that he does copywriting, but if you're an average lawyer, and you'll see in a moment that his prospect, his ideal prospect, is a lawyer, you might think that copy refers to paper, photocopying, that kind of thing, printing, those sorts of services. So, lightning fast reflexes to strike your competitors down soundly, the tagline, is probably going to sound a little bit odd if you've made that initial assumption, and it's going to cause a bit of a pause. So I would strongly suggest that the tagline reflect more simply what Patrick does. It should be more explanatory and less direct and aggressive to begin with. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we get in. However, notice that although those elements don't succeed terribly well, the headline itself, for the lawyer who wants an edge, that's definitely orienting your prospect in terms of whether he's in the right place. If he's not a lawyer, he knows he's not in the right place, and if he is a lawyer, he knows that he probably is, or at least he knows that this page is for him. That's an excellent way of encouraging your ideal prospect to read on by calling him out specifically, so good job there. Alright, desirability is where it's going to be mostly at. That's what I will be discussing in some detail. So first of all, let me do something which I seldom do, and actually read through the whole of this copy so you can get a sense for it. For the lawyer who wants an edge, don't just beat down your competitors. Don't just beat your competitors, strike them down. And the body copy reads, you're beset by competition. Competitors merge and grow larger. Outsourcing sends work overseas. A would-be client hires another local firm every single working day. You can't afford wasted effort. Yet firms often waste the copy, written words, on their website. When someone visits your website and wonders if they'll hire you or another lawyer, that's a problem. You've got one shot. Your copy needs to strike down the competition. Most copy won't. The reason? Clients only care about themselves. Yet often law firm websites don't speak to clients' problems. Instead, they say what the firm does. This is a problem. Before potential clients hire your expertise, they want to see you understand them. However, it's also an opportunity. Your competitors have this problem, Ensure that when your clients visit your website, they'll see you speak to their needs. They'll hire you, not the competition. Click this button to let me show how to do this with an article on how to avoid a fatal business mistake. ... And the call to action, learn more. Okay. The first thing that strikes me about this copy is actually twofold, and it revolves around this first paragraph. You're beset by competition, competitors merge and grow, etc., etc. What it's doing is it's trying to demonstrate an understanding of the prospect. It's trying to be sympathetic to the prospect, but it's kind of coming off as guileless by overtly emphasizing problems that the prospect already has in the back of his mind. I think that it's always better to imply these problems than to call them out directly, to speak about ways in which you can solve them that presuppose them, because the client presupposes them. When you call them out this obviously, it sounds a little guileless, and it results in the client thinking, this guy's kind of trying to suck up to me a bit. He's trying to show that he really knows and gets me, but it's making me feel kind of put off. I would suggest, and this is the second horn of my comment, that this entire paragraph could be culled, because this paragraph, starting "yet firms often waste one," you would need to rewrite the beginning slightly, but this is where the copy really begins. It's where it really starts to get interesting to your prospect. This is where your lead is, the lead being the part that gets the prospect really interested in reading. And it's very, very common, I do this all the time, for writers to bury the lead. They like to warm up, and they like to put things in the beginning of their article. They don't really need to be there, but when they start writing, it feels like they should be. And what they end up with is like a couple of paragraphs of fluff, and then the actual lead that the person reading it is going to be really interested in about 2 or 3, 4 paragraphs in, depending on the length of the text. And if you simply deleted those first few paragraphs and brought the lead up, it would be much more interesting and get much more readership, and people would be far more interested in reading on. Once it starts talking about written words on their website, once it starts talking about how people visiting the website wondering if they'll hire you or another lawyer, that's where it starts to really get interesting. So that's where I would suggest starting. Okay. Thirdly, the headline. For the lawyer who wants an edge, that's a good start, but don't just beat your competitors, strike them down. I would suggest that this is a little bit aggressive. Now, I understand where it's coming from, because Patrick has developed a motif around the idea of a copywriting duelist. Someone who can stand in for you and can basically put you ahead of your competitors. And the motif works really well if you go to the Services tab or click on Learn More. The motif really starts to come out there, but I think it's being introduced too early because it's an aggressive motif. It might be a little bit off-putting. I would suggest that rather than going this aggressive to begin with, when the client himself probably isn't feeling this aggressive, he probably doesn't want to strike down his competitors. He hasn't thought about it in those terms. He's more concerned with himself than his competitors. It would be better to change that initial headline, that second line, and talk about something related to the lead, so lead into the lead, as it were. The fourth thing, is that there's a sudden change of tack at the end. Click this button to let me show you how to do this, referring back to everything which has come before about talking the right talk on your website. With an article on how to avoid a fatal business mistake, what does that have to do with what has come before? It's a sudden change of tack, and although that can be intriguing, Your prospect at this point is thinking, okay, this guy's an expert on websites and on creating websites that will put me ahead of my competitors. That's good. But what can he tell me about how to run my own business? What does he know about running law firms? Now, Patrick actually is a lawyer, so Patrick probably knows quite a lot. And if you click on services, you'll see a pretty compelling and convincing case. But it seems incongruous here. So I would suggest either you need to imply more about how you have expertise to tell your prospect how to avoid a fatal business mistake, or leave that until a little bit later. Alright, having said all that, this is an exceptionally good homepage. It sets out a problem, it implies a solution, it gives some useful information, and it calls the prospect to learn more once he's intrigued and once he's interested. You really couldn't ask for more than that. Lastly, offers. The prospect definitely is interested. Now, does its goal match the available options? And here, I really can't fault Patrick for this, because I actually make the same mistake on my own website, which I haven't yet fixed. But there is only one call to action here. There's only one offer being made, only one objective which can be clicked on. And I would say that that is a mistake, because sometimes prospects will want to go somewhere else. So, for example, I think that when you arrive on a website and you're looking for services, not only do you want to know more about the services themselves, but you also want to know more about the client. More about the service provider. So when you go to, say, a copywriter's website or a web designer's website, or when you go to the website of a bank, for example, you want to know more about the bank or the website designer or the copywriter before you make any kind of decisions. Even if you like what they say on their services page, even if you like their prices and you like their work and so on, you want to make sure that you're a fit for them, because people buy from people that they like and trust. So regardless of how good a copywriter I am, if you don't like or trust me, and, frankly, that's fine, because I'm not a very likable person in real life, and probably not very trustworthy either, then I'm not going to make any kind of sale, because people are going to basically say, you might be good at what you do, but I don't want to deal with you, because you're a horrible person. So it's very important to offer them the opportunity to get to know you more. So I always suggest that on a homepage, not only do you have an ability for your prospect to learn more about your services, but you also have an ability to for your prospect to learn more about you. So a link to the About page is a really good idea. Make that a secondary link, like it could just be a text link even. You don't want it to be as prominent as the other one, because you want to give your prospect a sense of where you want him to go, so that he can make a choice either way. If you give equally weighted links, then it becomes more difficult to make a decision. But that's a relatively minor point. The other thing that I would say is that this call to action could be bigger. In fact, it could be a lot bigger. Calls to action can't be too big. They can be too small. The smaller they are, the fewer clicks they get, but they can't be too big. The bigger they are, the more clicks they get. It could also have more contrast. Learn more could be in orange, for example, or the button itself could be orange. And it should have some kind of feedback, because when people move over a link, they expect to see it change in some way to indicate that it is actually active and that they can actually do something with it. But those are relatively minor points. Overall, this is an excellent site. So I'm going to talk about how you could improve it. I could give a whole list of ways that this site does things right. I'm going to talk about things it does wrong to help you, the reader or the watcher, a little bit out. So point one, a strong motif can overwhelm if you're offering a motif is just some kind of story about you, something that's interesting and surprising, a way of presenting yourself that is unique. And it's a very, very good idea to have one, but depending on how you do it, it can come off a bit strong to begin with, so you have to unveil it gradually to get your prospect comfortable with you. Secondly, giving away useful information shows that you get it. You'll notice that in his copy, Patrick offers some very useful information in the form, basically, of advice about how to create an effective website. He implies most of it, but he's giving useful information to the prospect, showing that he understands the prospect's problem and how to solve it. That's very compelling to prospects. Thirdly, sympathizing is another word for sucking up. Don't overtly call out the problems that your prospect has in a kind of itemized way that makes him think, okay, this guy's trying a bit too hard to show that he understands me, and it just comes across like he's about to pitch something. And fourthly, your lead is probably actually somewhere below your lead. Take away your first paragraph, and then read what's left and see if it's stronger without it. Take away your second paragraph. Just keep doing that process until you come to your actual lead. Alright, I'm going to do something I haven't done before, ever. But I'm going to tell you about it in a second. First of all, remember you can email me with comments, questions, hate mail, or to get your site reviewed. And I will do it for free, even though it's $99 value, non@informationhighwayman.com. All that I ask is that you sign up for the free straight shooting marketing tips, the Ace of Spades, at informationhighwayman.com/ace, because the free thing is only for subscribers. Now, I'm going to give this website a Web Copy and Design Certified High Caliber Award. It is Information Highwayman approved. And I can count the number of websites that are Information Highwayman approved on one hand. So I would like to congratulate Patrick, and if you happen to want some copy written and you're a lawyer, I would suggest that you look him up. How did he know how to create such a good site? Where did he learn it? He learned it in a book. Okay, he didn't learn all of it in a book. I'm not going to claim that copywriters can learn their entire trade from what I write, but in this case, I know for a fact because he's told me that he found my book the most useful of all the ones that he has read, and that is Attention Thievery 101. So if you would like a book which is approved by an obviously very good copywriter and someone who knows how to design a website, head on over to attentionthievery.info and have a look for yourself. That's my plug for tonight. Until next time, I am Non. Thanks for watching.